Hello and welcome to my demonstration videos on encryption, which I discussed in more depth in a previous video. If you'd like, you can go back to check those out. But for this video, I will be performing two labs, one in regards to the Bitlocker drive encryption and one in regards to the EFS, which is the file encryption, where we create encryption keys. So we are going to go ahead and start with creating or using the BitLocker services first. Just as a reminder, I am working out of a virtual environment using a client computer in my VMware workstation platforms. I will just bring that up here. And for this demo, we will use a separate storage volume that we can use to encrypt. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started here. We'll go to run first. And I'm going to jump into our disk management console. So disk management is the console from where we can manage your storage, or which is your fixed storage. As discussed in my previous video, we have, on encryption, we have two types of storage, which is fixed and removable. Let me just open this up here. So fixed is directly connected to our computers, whether that be a laptop or a desktop. And then removable is like when you're using an external hard drive or say like a USB or a pen drive. So we use disk management to protect our drives and manage our storage. So here we can see we have our disk 0 with our 40 gigs of space. So two things of note here. In the disk 0 partitions, first thing we have is a system reserved, which is a secure partition that Microsoft uses for its own services. The second partition here being our C drive. Now for performing this lab, I do need a drive that I can encrypt. So we're going to go ahead and create a new partition from our C drive. And we'll use that to perform our drive encryption. So we're going to go ahead and just right click on our C drive. Now we're going to scroll down to our shrink volume option here. So just something to know, if you are for any reason using an older OS, this feature to shrink and extend the volume is something that was introduced in Windows 7 and newer operating systems. So this does show me when I select shrink volume, it's just creating the shrink space now. This will show me all of the available shrink space that I have for my new partition, but we won't actually be needing all of this storage. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this, and we're just going to make a partition for 1 gigabyte of space, which will be the 1024 megabytes. Select shrink here. So when we shrink the volume, as you can see, it cuts the space. And right now it's showing as unallocated, meaning we don't know where it is in our system. So at this point, we're going to allocate this new 1 gigabyte partition. So we're going to right click and select new simple volume. And then it's going to bring up my new simple volume wizard here. And this is just for creating the simple volume. So we're going to hit next. This shows us we will use the 1023 megabytes maximum size and with the minimum disk space being the 8 megabytes. That's fine. After you hit next, it's going to assign a drive letter. So real quick here before I proceed there, I'm just going to open my File Explorer real quick just to show something here. And so here I just want to show you what drives we currently have. So when I go to this PC and right under devices and drive here, we can see that what we currently have is just a C drive, which is our local disk drive, and a D drive. D drive where we have CD-ROMs connected or ISO images, and C drive is the operating system drive. So we're going to go ahead and create the new drive with the letter E. So I just want to kind of demonstrate that real quick. Let me close that down. We're good with that there. I'll hit next. Next it says, do you want to change the name of the volume? I'm okay with the new volume name. Here, we'll just select next and finish. Now, after finalizing, we can see that we have our new volume created. So this whole process here is essentially just simply shrinking and creating a new volume from our C drive. So we have that there now. So now I'll open up that File Explorer again. Go back to this PC. And here we can see our new volume, which we just created now. Now we're going to check and see if we can encrypt a document and ensure that it's secure. So to do this, we are going to create a new user, and that user is going to attempt to basically open or check the device here. So for this, I'm going to go back into Run. And this one, we will go into our computer management console. And so this is going to bring up our computer management console, which is the console for our management console for our work group environment that we're using here in this VMware. So here, let me just open that up. We're going to go to our local users and groups. We'll go into users. And we're going to create a new user here. So I'm just going to right click, new user. We'll make the username Mike. I'm going to do a real simple password for the demo here. And on this one, I am not going to require him to change his password at next logon. I'm just going to hit create, close. And now we can see we have our new user Mike here. So I'm just going to close this down now. Now, in this PC here for our File Explorer, we are going to go into New Volume. And in our new volume, we're going to right click and we're going to create a new folder. And for this folder, I'm just going to title it as Client 10A folder. And now we're going to go ahead and go into this folder and we will create a new text document. So right click, new text document. And I'm just going to label it as my file. And we'll go ahead and open that up. And we'll just enter some data here. I'll just put, this is my file. For Bitlocker by Encryption. Gonna close and save. That is set there. Now we are going to go back to our File Explorer here where we can see our drives. So now that we have our drive, we have our folders created on our drive, and now we want to protect this drive. So I'm going to close everything here again. That's all shut down. Now I'm going to go back to our run. And this time I'm just going to type control. And this will bring up our control panel here. I'm just going to switch this to large icon categories. And we will see at the top right here our BitLocker drive encryption options. We're going to open this and it gives you the options of which drives to encrypt. So we have our C drive or our new volume. We want to encrypt our new volume, the E drive. So I'm going to click on new volume and then we get this option here to turn on BitLocker. So one thing to note is that the more data you do have in your drive, the more time it takes to encrypt. But now it's going to ask us, how do we want to encrypt? Do we want to use a password or use something like a smart card to unlock? Now, this smart card option really pertains more to like modern devices where you can use a biometric system or say like an RFID authentication. We're going to go with just a simple password option. Well, not simple password, but the password option, which should be a 7-character complex password. So you're going to be using upper lowercase letters, numerical values, special characters. So whatever is easy enough for you to remember, but complex enough that it's not too easy to crack. So let me just select that here. Let's enter again. Select next. And so now it asks, where are you going to save your recovery key? Say, for instance, if you happen to forget your password, how are you going to back up your recovery key? So it gives you the three options here: save to your Microsoft account, USB flash drive, save to file, or you can also print the recovery key. For our options here, we're going to just go to save to a file. And we're going to make a new folder in this PC, documents, and we'll title it as our BitLocker key. So I'm just going to go to documents here, make a new folder. Key, and I will save it there. And then we can hit next. Now for this next portion here, it's asking how much of your drive do you want to encrypt? Which it gives the two options: only used disk space or entire drive. So say you had like a 500 gigabyte drive and you've only used 300 gigs of space. It will only encrypt that 300 gigs of space. But for this demo, we'll be encrypting the entire drive, which tells you that it is slower but best for PCs and drives already in use. So we're going with the entire drive. Now it's asking select which encryption mode to use. So for this portion here, this is something that Microsoft added as a new feature in Windows 11. So with this, it's basically like, let's say you encrypt the entire drive and then you end up pulling that hard drive from your laptop or desktop. You leave a company or whatever, and you're taking that with you. You have the opportunity to connect to another computer. Assuming the operating system is compatible, you can decrypt your drive on that new computer. With that, though, the minimum operating system requirements is Windows 10 with the latest major updates of Windows 11. So if you have like a version 15 of Windows 11 on Windows 10, that is compatible with this type of decryption. Otherwise, it would be a Windows 11 or newer. So for our option here, we will go with compatible mode and we'll select next. Now it's going to ask if we are ready to encrypt. Yes, well, let's start encrypting. It's going to encrypt and close. We'll select this encryption in progress here. And then we can close. So once we've encrypted the drive, now we're going to go ahead and reboot the machine. So this is one of the drawbacks of BitLocker is that you can't encrypt the drive immediately without rebooting the machine. So I'm going to just real quickly pause the video here and we will resume after I get my machine all booted back up. So let me just pause for a moment. Okay, so now that we have restarted our computer and logged back in, we're going to go ahead and go back to our File Explorer, and now we can see our BitLocker encrypted disk. We'll go to PC, and we can see here now our local disk or our new volume with our little locked and key there. So when we double click this drive, it's now going to ask for the encryption password that we created. And then at this point, you basically just enter the password that you created and unlock. And then I can see all my folders and files for this drive. Now, before we attempt to log in with the new user account that we created previously, I'm going to demonstrate how we use the BitLocker encryption key that we saved in the event that you forget your encryption password. So when we forget the password, we select more options, and then this is going to say enter recovery key. We're going to select that. And here it's going to say enter the 48-digit recovery key to unlock this drive. And then it gives you a key ID, which is this, for this specific key that I got, the OCD60FE8, basically a 4-digit key ID. So we're going to go and check this. So what we'll do is from our File Explorer, we're going to go to our documents. I'm just going to pop over this way. And then we have our file here that we created, the Bitlocker key. We'll open that up. And so we can see that 8-digit matching identifier at the front here. And this 48-digit key here is our recovery key. So I'm going to highlight that. We'll copy. I'm going to go back to my drive here. And then we will paste that key and unlock. We'll just open folder to view files. And there we go. We can go into our client 10A folder, my file, and we have access. So whoever has this key has the authority to open the drive. Now to check this drive encryption, I'm going to log on with our new user, Mike, that we created and see if our drive is in fact secure. Now, sometimes we do need to restart the machine to make sure we clear the user account credential cache and that the drive is indeed encrypted for our user, Mike. I'm going to log on with Mike and just kind of verify that first. If it shows as it's not encrypted yet, then we'll go ahead and restart again, but I think we should be okay here. So I'll just sign out. User account, it may take a few minutes here for it to just kind of initialize the new profile. So again, I'm just going to pause for a moment while all of this logs in here. Okay, so now we are logged back in with our new user profile account, Mike here. And so all we're going to do is essentially just verify our encrypted drive. So I'm going to go to my File Explorer here. Or this PC. Okay, and so right now it is showing that drive is unlocked. So, like I had mentioned before, sometimes we need to restart the machine to make sure we clear the user account credential cache and that the drive is indeed encrypted for our user Mike. So I'm just going to restart this again and then we'll double check it to make sure that it does lock that drive. Okay, so we went ahead and restarted our computer here. I have logged back in with my user Mike, and now we're going to go back in and check again on our File Explorer to see if we have our encrypted drive. We'll select this PC again, and there you go. Shows us the drive encrypted for volume E. If I try to double click on this here, it's going to ask me again for that password. So unless you have the the BitLocker drive password to be able to get into that or that recovery key, you will not have access as this user Mike for getting into this drive. So at this point, that is essentially the end of our drive level encryption using BitLocker demonstration. I am going to go ahead and end the video here just for the sake of time. And we'll resume with basically a part 2 demo for the EFS encryption in the next demonstration. So thanks again for your time, and I will see you in the next video.